Hey guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alexandra Valentine and here we'll post all things sewing tutorials, fashion hacks and what's more. So if this is something you're interested in, kindly give this video a huge thumbs up and also hit on the subscribe button to join the family. For my returning subscribers, you're welcome once again. But before we begin, I'd like to put this out there. If you're just getting started and you love to learn sewing step by step, I actually offer a full beginner sewing course, and I also offer a one-on-one online class where I guide you personally. I'll tell you more about this at the end, so stay tuned. So in our last class, we drafted and cut out this trendy two-piece, a 3/4 short and this very stylish top to pair with the 3/4 short. So in today's class, we are going to be sewing what we cut out in our last video. So these are the two panels for the front. These are the two pieces for the front, and so we'll just go ahead now and cut out an interfacing for the button allowance and the neck area. Remember that there is a button in front. So this interfacing is going to go all the way from the neckline up onto the hem of the top. Okay, I believe at this point we all know what an interfacing is, so just take that out and then we are going to go ahead and join the two pieces for the front. Okay, so these are the two pieces for the front, so just go ahead now and join them together like so. So we want to make sure that right side of each of the fabric is facing the right side of the other part. Okay, then we'll go over to the sewing machine and stitch it down. So we've gone over to the sewing machine to stitch it down, and this is what it's looking like. Okay, so the next thing to do is to shift the seam allowance to the side front. Then you are going to top stitch it. Okay, the side front is the area carrying the sleeve. Okay, then you are going to top stitch it. So because that part was really bulky, I just shifted one of the seam allowance to the side and I top stitched on it. So the next thing now to do is to bring your interfacing, place it on the right side of the fabric, just to align the cutout that you did here, aligning it, making sure that it's aligned with the neckline, button allowance area and the V-cut we have at the hem. Okay, then we'll go over to stitch that down. So for the back piece, this is what it's looking like. We are also going to go ahead and cut an interfacing for the neck area. So an interfacing just serves more like a bias, but it's more wider and it's also cutting from the same fabric you'll be working with. So you just cut out, tracing out the neckline or the parts you want to turn over. Okay, so I'll go over to the sewing machine and stitch this down. Okay, I've also gone ahead to stitch the front part interfacing down, and this is what it's looking like. So I also made a top stitch. I moved the seam allowance, what we have there, I moved it towards the interfacing and I made a top stitch. Again, I just shifted one of the seam allowance because it was too bulky and I just top stitch on one of the seam allowance. So this will make it relax by the time you turn it over. So by when you are stitching and you get to the hem, you are going to leave about 1 inch. You are going to stop 1 inch before you stitch across like this. Okay, then you are going to knot it at the point where the interfacing stops. Then you trim out the excess. I'll tell you the reason why we had to leave that 1 inch later. Okay, so now we are going to flip this interfacing to the right side. You see that it will be relaxed, but you still also want to press it down for a neat and clean finish. I have turned it over to the right side. Okay, again, you want to give this a very good press. Now, to explain the reason why we stopped at 1 inch before the end is so that we are going to, when you fold this remaining part, it's going to align with this closing that is here, right? So remember, we are going to be folding with half and then fold again with half. That's 1 inch. Hence the reason why we stopped 1 inch before the end. Okay, so this is what it's looking like, all pressed and clean. We also went ahead to repeat the same thing for the other side, and this is what the front is looking like. Now we are going to introduce the back part at this point. So we've also gone ahead to close the neckline using our interfacing cutouts that I illustrated before. So what we are going to do now is to just join the shoulders and the side. And to join the side, when you get to this point, we are going to stitch 2 inches inward. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to explain more later. Okay, I've stitched the shoulder and the side. Now notice how when I was stitching the sleeve, I stitched inwards with 2 inches. Okay, then I continue stitching the side with 2 inches, which was our side allowance. Okay, don't forget that this top part, this blouse is fitted, so I just notched that area so that by the time we turn it out, it's going to be relaxed. Okay, now we are going to just go ahead now and hem, like fold the hem. So fold 1, which is ½ inch, and fold 2, which is 1 inch, hence my explanation earlier, so that it just aligns with the close-up that we did with our interfacing in front. I hope I'm not speaking too many English. You can always rewind back to understand more. Okay, we'll also go ahead to fold the hem of our sleeves, and that will just basically be it for the stops. So next will be the 3/4 short. So in our previous video, we went ahead to cut out the 3/4 short, including the pocket and the measurement and everything required. The link of the previous video will be in the description down below. I just set aside the front panel and the pocket. So this is the back part, and we are going to just stitch close the crotch area. So we are going to do that off camera. That's aside. For the front pieces, this is like the 2 pieces of the front. So first and foremost, we'll have to stitch close the pocket area. Okay, so we are going to bring the pieces of the pocket and we are going to close up this pocket side. Okay, we'll also do the same thing for the second piece of the pocket as well. Okay, you want to make sure that the pockets are like opposite each other. If this one is facing to the right, this one should be facing to the left, so that you don't end up having two right side or 2 left side. Okay, so that is done. And again, I shifted the seam allowance towards the pocket piece and made a top stitch. Okay, so observe it very closely. The seam allowance I shifted towards the pocket fabric, and then I made a top stitch. This is going to make it more relaxed, and there is not going to be any thread showing on the outer part. Okay, so we've also gone ahead to repeat the same thing on the other side as well. Okay, so right now we are going to be joining the crotch area. So we are going to stitch all the way to this point and stop, because this is going to have like a button overlap. Okay, so when we stitch to this point, we are going to stop. Okay, let's just go ahead now and complete the remaining parts of this pocket. So in case you are really confused about this pocket stuff, I have a full video on how to make a pocket. Okay, so you might want to watch that. The link will also be in my description box. So I brought the second piece of the pocket on top of it like this, and I'm going to stitch the side and the down, okay, to the second piece of the pocket. Now at the waist area, I'm going to join it with the main fabric. Okay, so that's just it. Now this is the back part, and we are going to go ahead now and sew in our dart. And to do that, we are going to be marking from the middle. We are going to be marking our nipple to nipple measurement. That is our bust span. Okay, so that's automatically our dart measurement. So I'm just making a little notch there with the both fabric folded, so that the effect is on the both side at the same time. Okay, now I'm going to be folding it on one of the notches. Like I opened it up, and I'm going to be folding it on one of the notch points. Then I'm going to stitch with ½ of an inch until I get to like 5 inches of length. Like I'm going to be stitching it in a V form, and I'll also repeat the same thing on the other side as well. So let's just go get all of that done, and we'll be right back. So this is the dart we've done. You can see how neat it is. I used half of an inch coming from the top and ended it at 5 inches length. Okay, so this is how it's looking like. Now to the front part, I've also gone ahead to stitch in the darts just like we did at the back, right? And also I have also gone ahead to stitch in all the places that we would stitch in the crotch area. Remember, the crotch area, we are not going to start from the beginning, right? We are just going to start somewhere at the middle here into the crotch area. Okay, so for the pockets, we've also gone ahead to stitch close the side, the down, and also hold it down at the waist area and on the sides as well. Okay, so that's all we've done so far. Now the next thing to do is to join both the front piece and the back piece together. So we are going to be joining the crotch area, like the inner part of our tie, the inner part of our pants. So we are going to be joining them together like this, and then we'll also go ahead and stitch the side with 2-inch. But this is a bit tricky because this pant is a bit flay, so and it's quite fitted at the waist. So what we are going to do is to sew 2 inches at the waist, and then we are just going to make it a slant stitch until we get to the edge hem of the short. Okay, so we've done all that, and here is what it's looking like. We've joined the inner ties together, and we've also stitched the sides, and this is what it's looking like. So aside weaving, we are almost done with this short. So what we are going to do now is to sew in our overlay button allowance, or whatever it's called. So the width I'm going to be using for this one, it's 2 inches. Sorry, do not mind that it's 4 inches that is there now. I later trimmed it off. Okay, so we are going to be joining it to one side of the opening there, and then the second piece is the one that is going to be folded. Okay, so this is the measurement for this one, should be the width measurement for this one should be 4 inches. Yeah, now the one that is not folded, like the plain fabric, is where the buttonhole is going to be, like the one that is going to be carrying the buttonhole, while the one folded that is folded will be the one carrying the buttons itself, so that the fabric will not be too thick to create our buttonhole. Okay, so we've also gone ahead to stitch to these pieces our seam allowance. Okay, so it is more relaxed. Now we are going to be stitching close this end point like this, so that it retains that its shape, like, because we want it to be overlay on each other. So this is what I was talking about. I've gone ahead to stitch that part more like the way you will normally make a fly zipper. So if you don't know how to make that, I'll also leave the link in the description box to the video of how to make a fly zipper and a proper side pocket. Okay, then by the time once you are done with that, you can then stitch your 2 inches band, okay, unfold. Okay, then you just add your band to the waist area, and that's just basically it. Please do not forget to weave your dresses. Okay, it's going to give you a much cleaner finish. Okay, now we are going to be turning this over to the right side, and you can see I've already gone ahead to create my buttonholes and also sew in my buttons to it, and this is what we have. Okay, this outfit really came out nice and clean. Okay, now the last thing we'll be doing here is to fold the hem of our pants, like just fold it with ½ inch, fold it twice, and that's just it. Like I mentioned earlier, if you love to learn sewing properly from the ground up, check out my beginner sewing course. Link will be in the description box down below. And if you prefer personalized attention, do not worry, I also offer one-on-one classes where I guide you directly through your sewing journey. All the details will be down in the description box. Follow me on all social media platforms at AV Fittings. See you guys next time. Bye. So if you find this video very helpful, kindly click on the like button and also hit on the subscribe button to join the family. You can share this video to anyone you think will find this video very helpful.